How many of you have ever felt uncertain about where you're going? What's going to happen next? Oh. Well, I saw a really great thing one time on the show Seinfeld, which is I like to watch at night instead of the news. Reruns of Seinfeld. And nobody else here does that, do you? We're kind of dating ourselves, I know. It's like 1,000,000 years old and it's still funny. It's timeless. So Elaine's walking down the street in the rain and she's really sad. She's lost. She doesn't know where she's going. And she bumps into this guy and he goes, "What's the matter? You seem very sad." And she says, "I'm lost. I don't know where I'm going." He says, "That's the best way to get someplace you've never been." Right? So how can we progress in our spiritual journey if we think we know all the time what's going to happen, where we're going, what to do? We have all the answers. We're not going to progress. So that's why this is a spiritual process that never ends. It's not like, oh, I have all the answers. If I do A, B, and C, I'll get into heaven. And all these other guys will be in the other place. And no, it's like there is no other place. There is only heaven. Everything else is an illusion, you guys. I'm here to tell you, you can stop believing in it, and you can make a choice to not participate in separation and in hell and in anger and in frustration. And it does take some work, and it does take some courage, and it definitely takes a new way of thinking. Absolutely. You know, Einstein said you can never solve a problem with the same kind of thinking that created it. That makes sense, right? That's why we call this path New Thought. Because it's a whole brand new way of thinking. And that journey of spirit is one which we are led by divine law, by this incredible intuition. And that really does know what direction to go in. It can't predict the results. The results are always going to be good if you're trusting in the one power and the one presence. And I know that to be true because it's my experience. I experience miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle if I'm looking for the miracle, if I'm looking in that direction. There's no need to guess. There's no need to be afraid of the future or lament the past when we have a true guide to lead us. And that guide is truth. It's principle, spiritual principle. The truth of who we are guides us from within. So I'm not looking for signs and wonders all the time. I'm looking within and trusting that guide. And everything I need to lead me on the path will be manifest for me because it's first found within me, within my own consciousness. I haven't always let myself be guided by the truth. I let myself be guided by my fears at times. I let myself be guided by my mistaken logic, what I think should happen, my mistaken ideas, my judgments of others, my attacks, my need for vengeance against the so-called enemy out there. It's just the other part of me. I'm disagreeing with myself. Can you get that? Everyone out there is a reflection of how you're feeling about yourself. Everyone, especially your enemies. That's why Jesus, our way shower, told us, love your enemy. Everyone can love their friends. That's easy. I'm asking you to love your enemy. Do I know how to do that? No way. But Spirit shows me how to do it in the moment that I need to do it. And a really wonderful thing, hope I'm quoting the right person here. Abraham Lincoln said, "I turn my enemies into my friends. That's how I destroy my enemies. I turn them into my friends." Wow, what an incredible idea. So we don't always allow ourselves to be guided by the truth and the light. There are times, yes, I've been distracted by my fear, but false evidence appearing real cannot be real to those who put their faith in God. It cannot be real. And let's take a look. I'm going to take a look at a story in the Bible at the end of Luke. And it's the only gospel that has this story. And it's post-resurrection. Jesus comes after the resurrection. He's walking along the road, and there's two guys talking to each other on the road to Emmaus, right? And I don't know if any of you know this story, but it's after he's resurrected. He's walking in a physical body. He meets up with these two guys, and they're talking about what just happened. This guy, this amazing guy, our Savior, our Messiah, this prophet, he was going to do everything for us, and he got crucified. He healed people. He raised people from the dead. He cured the blind, the lame, and he got crucified. How did that happen? And so they are in their fear. They're in the false evidence appearing real. First of all, that the Christ was confined to a body. And second of all, that the resurrection was not a certainty in their mind, because they'd never seen one before. So he's walking along the road and he says, "What are you guys talking about? Why are you so sad?" And they said, "Are you like new around here?" They took the prophet and they killed him. And he said after 3 days he was going to resurrect, and now I don't see him anywhere. And he's like standing right next to them. So he says, "Really? Okay, tell me about it." And he walks with them along the road. And he walks with them for quite a while, and it becomes dark, and they say, "Well, why don't you have dinner with us?" And at dinner, he takes the bread and he breaks it and he offers it to them. And their eyes are opened. It's a beautiful story. At that moment, they recognize the Christ. And then it says, and then he vanished from their sight. That's the mystical part of the story. I won't get into that today. You have to come to one of our classes for that. But what I'd like to share with you is in the metaphysical tradition, the bread is the divine substance. It's the substance of spirit, the substance of God. When I offer you the substance of myself, your eyes will be opened to see who you are. Immediately you will recognize yourself. Immediately you will recognize you are a spiritual being. Immediately you will come into an experience of the Christ in you. You see, I believe he vanished because they no longer needed the body. You see, now they are recognizing something. If you can recognize it in another, you've experienced it within yourself. And now it's your turn to demonstrate it, to manifest it in each and every perfect way that you can. Because you have an individual expression of God that nobody else has. Nobody else can perform your function here on earth because it was given to you. You are unique. You are a unique expression of God. And if you can really get that down into your bones, you'll know that everything you do, it's perfect. You're on the right path. Just don't stay still. Let the journey continue. Don't be satisfied and allow yourself to fall into that comfort zone. Everything's okay, sort of, now. My life's going along pretty good. No, it's got to be amazing every moment, or you're not expressing God. You're not expressing your divinity. It has to be completely amazing each and every moment. You were born for magnificence, not for littleness. Yes, and the fire can be rekindled in you right here, right now. And I love that story because he's offering spiritual food. And that reveals the truth. The spiritual food reveals the truth of who we are. When he offered them the bread, their eyes were open. When you offer the bread of truth to your neighbors, their eyes are opened as well. And you live with that smile that Karina has on her face all the time. It's beautiful. And you can't get that smile off your face Because something magical and amazing is happening every moment of every day. And you won't see the Christ. You won't be able to offer the bread of life with the eyes of fear, disappointment, fixed on the past, worried about the future, with the eyes of uncertainty and doubt. Because all you can see in that point is your own sad story. I used to work with a painter, and every time we'd get into some story about our past and people that are bothering us and everything, he'd say, "I don't want to hear no sad songs." And then you'd come in, and anytime you'd complain about anything, he'd say, "You singing that song again? You singing that sad song again?" And it'd just get you right off of it. Just knock you right off of your little pity party, Just, come on, it's a new day. What are you talking about? We're together, we're working here, let's have fun. And wow, what an amazing opportunity to let go of all of your complaints. I went to the hospital. I had to go to the emergency room. My face was all swollen up. I had a clogged parotid gland or something. And so I meet Patricia in the emergency room. I didn't tell you this last week. Connie and Patricia rolled their car over. And Connie was a couple days later in the finance committee. And Patricia's been in every class and been the platform leader. And you would never know she had a broken arm. Patricia broke her arm. And, these guys are like, "Oh, well, this is..." She told me all the good stuff that came out of it. She flipped her car over on the roof. And Connie, you're looking great. Look at her. She's looking fantastic. Yeah. Slow down a little. So I was in the hospital and I pick up a magazine on the table. And it was the funniest thing ever. In the hospital, the magazine says, "How complaining makes you sick." It's a whole article. How complaining makes you sick. And it tells you all the physical symptoms of complaining. It tells you all the physiology of what happens when you start complaining and how you send all the stuff, the cortisol and all that. It makes you fat too, complaining. Don't complain, it makes you fat. You want to go on a diet, want to look really healthy, stop complaining. You'll have a healthier heart, you'll have a healthier mind and body. So I found that interesting. I had to go to the hospital to find that out when that's what I'm supposed to be teaching all week. So there are lessons everywhere. Everything is teaching you. And when I'm complaining, when I'm talking about disappointments and the past and continually focused on my story, what happens is that I'm seeing the world through the eyes of sense consciousness. In Unity, they call it sense consciousness or error thinking. It's just an error in my way of thinking and seeing. And what happens when I receive the spiritual food, like I did in the hospital from that magazine, I had a reminder of the truth there, is that I receive something that is invaluable, that immeasurable, that you can't really explain. And that it's a shift in your perception from fear to love. And that's where the miracle happens. And instead of seeing with my own error thinking and my sense consciousness, I'm now seeing with the vision of Christ within. And it's a real thing. It's not just a fancy intellectual kind of statement, fanciful idea that we can do this. It's actually true because our nature is divine. And that's the whole beauty of this teaching and New Thought Christianity, of New Thought and Unity teaching, is that you are divine. Your core is divine. In the core of your being, you are made up of God. If God is the creator of all things, He must have created you and me as well. And what happens when I receive that spiritual food is I recognize the truth. I can see with the eyes of Christ. I can recognize the Christ in my brothers and sisters. And I become aware of the presence of that Christ light in me and in you. And that's what brings us together. And even if I can't find the evidence of it with these eyes, don't worry about that. Jesus said to some of his disciples, because you have seen me, you have believed. But blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe. That's where the journey becomes an adventure. And that's how our journey spiritually together will continue. So continue on this path. You're on the right path, you guys. Just don't stop, okay? I love you so much.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass. And visit us online at www.unityoncapecod.org.